Welcome to this session, Microsoft Teams meeting rooms and Autopilot. Why is the smartest way to do a mass rollout? So I'll start by, of course, saying thanks to all our sponsors. And we are at the end of the conference, but I guess everybody should been down and say hello and talk with the sponsors. But yeah, they're important to us because else we can't have a conference like this. So remember to support them. Good. The agenda, introduction. Yeah, a little about me. Meilbak. I'm a Microsoft MVP, specialized in Teams, meeting rooms, and voice. And I should probably have closed my Outlook before, but let's see how much it disturbs. I've been doing phone stuff for 20, 25 years. That's where I started, and then I got integrated into Microsoft universe, and I've done that since. I've begun to do meeting rooms before Corona, so it was not something hyped that, hey, now we have Corona and everybody needs to do some meeting rooms. I started with it before, but yeah, it was started together with the Teams era of time. Yeah, and then that's my home office. It's extended a little. I have more workspaces out there, so I'm kind of independent, meaning that I don't sell any hardware, but I work with pretty much all manufacturers. So all big with J-Link, HP, Jabra, all of them. So yeah, that's what I'm testing. So it's really a nice setup. If I have to say it myself. And again, we're not that many, so let's try to make this one a more interactive and talk back and forth and so on. I mean, and no stupid questions. Why are we talking about Autopilot? Well, I guess everybody has a dream about having a zero-touch provisioning setup. And what will that mean? That will mean that we are just, ordering boxes, some AV guy coming in and mount everything on the wall, plug power and Ethernet to it, and we don't touch anything else. And I mean, historically, Android has had the closest option where we could get a provisioning codes and so on, and we could sign in remote from. With Autopilot, so this one is only working with Windows, we actually can do 101% zero-touch provisioning. That's what we're going to talk about today. So, and I mean, it is, some of the other benefits we will see with it is that easy to reinstall. That if you have a problem with a device, I mean, on the Android one, we can do a factory reset and just start the provisioning setup and so on. Here on Windows, we actually have the option to do the same and will automatically reassign into account and so on. So we get really zero-touch re-provisioning if you want as well. Another side effect is that I had a customer where we were migrating, I think it was 45 meeting rooms or something like that, from one tenant to another one. And how do you do that? I mean, you're joined all the devices and so on, and you need to touch it. And we find an easy way that we're just getting Autopilot configured in the new tenant, do a factory reset on all the devices, don't do a cloud reset, do on device, so you have all the OEM packets and all that stuff in it. And we found that when we start that process, 1.5 hours, the meeting rooms were ready, signed in, and ready to use. So that's a side effect in it. And we can do a lot of nice, cool stuff with that one as well. But yeah, that's what it is. Autopilot is a known, anyone that doesn't know what Autopilot is, I'll just briefly say that it's you get a new PC, everything's set up, you type in your corporate email address, and all magic happens. You get all your application, everything set up on the device. So, I mean, Autopilot had been working for years and years for regular PCs. And if you Google, that's a good thing about Google, it doesn't remember everything. So there are still some articles saying, hey, you cannot use Autopilot with Windows meeting rooms. Don't forget all about that. That's legacy stuff on it. But yeah, that's Autopilot. And as I was saying, we're going to do it a little different because, we've got them all back and forth talking because we're not that many. So to configure everything like this, we are going into Intune. And Intune, we have the devices. And if we start with the device itself, enrollment, devices. In here, that's where we start registering our Windows devices. We get the fee, and I don't know if there's a bad cable, anything like that. Yeah, doesn't take. Okay. Sorry about that. So while we're waiting for this to come up, on the devices, we have a hardware hash, and hardware hash is a unique value that each device have itself. I have a longer slide if you really want to geek out on that one, how it's created from a lot of IDs on the PC and a vendor code and so on. So, but long story short, we have a hardware hash that's unique for each device. That hardware hash, we need to get into Intune so it knows that when this device is registering, it's from your enterprise and it's owned and so on. Sorry. There are different ways we can get that one in. If you are buying the PCs from some of the major manufacturers like HP, Lenovo, and so on, you can get them to push directly into your tenant if you have a large scale. Your mid-size and so on, you can get the distributor to give you a CSV file that you can upload into Intune, and there you can get the list. When you have that hardware hash, it will register it on a device. Gonna be great. The magic. So then we have sign in this one, and we have some different tags. And normally what we do tags is to say that, yeah, I have made some configuration profiles where I have like Windows 11 UK English, Windows 11 German, and so on. So I have some tags working in it. Here we need to have MTR minus. That's important because that's the entire backend are designed to look into that tag. And if it's called MTR minus, then the backend knows that this has something to do with meeting rooms. And you can still have other ones because let's say that we have MTRs in Scandinavia and in Asia and so on. So we can still add more tags into that computer, but we need to have MTR minus on it so it knows that it works. And hopefully I'll show you guys later why it's important on it. Okay. Yeah. Any questions to hardware has that doesn't make sense? What we need to do? Yeah.
All of my like that during configuration, like different steps. Your every their risk.
Yeah.
Or stuff to build deployment profile. Yes, the all of the.
Oh, no, that's not a fully. Well, the closest is the Microsoft rollout book that you have with all the description that goes to the Learn article. But the autopilot, I'm actually surprised that you say that people are missing. That's it, because I would say that it's probably some of the best documentation I've seen for Microsoft is how to set autopilot up. But I can hear, yeah, exactly. Read the.
They don't get it.
Yeah.
Art. They that trying to do it. No. That. Or and then for like wheel configuration. Great thing. So it's been.
Exactly. I think you just hit the nail here. There's a huge gap because we have everybody that works with MTRs, people like me that say, hey, that's great. I know everything about that part. And then you have the Intune people that have no knowledge about MTR, what does it is. And I'm doing some sessions together with another MVP that he is just in Intune. And we actually got together because there is a huge gap. The documentation is that it's more, I think the problem is, and it sounds a little rough, it's understanding of the different subject that you're not used to work with. We see a lot of exactly both mid-size and huge company that's saying, no, we're still paying the AV integrator for pre-install, and we still ship username and password to our trusted AV partner to get that one set up. So there is a gap, but I don't think it's a documentation gap. I think it's more an understanding gap.
The one that where in the deployment profile, I think, where you have to pay the.
Yeah. So that's serial number exactly. Yeah.
Said documentation says So like, no, don't
Yeah, and you don't have. I was going to say.
say that. I don't understand how to be working.
Are you sure it's not updated? Because the first one we had also a lot of the dynamics group that we're using. Hopefully, I can show that afterwards. Had to be called MTR minus as well. I don't. I haven't checked the documentation for a while. Yeah, but I'm totally agree that that 1% is cell. What that is that when you are making a deployment profile, when you add devices into them, of course they need a Windows name. So what it does is that we can call them MTR, and then of course, we cannot have the same naming on it, and then we can have a presented serial number. So it will take, I think, 6 last serial number and put on top of the naming. So you just have it like that. And I mean, one request will be that it could be even more awesome if you could take the room name and so on. But I think that will happen in version 10, 11 or whatever. That because right now it's two separate processes. We have the autopilot process, and then when that's done, it'll go over to the teams. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. So yeah, pretty much what we're talking about. That's the group tag we have here, and we can just see one of them. That just add in a group tag here. If we want to add, we can import. As I was saying, we had the different options. We can either import a CSV file if we get that one for our distributor or from a partner where we bought it, or again, if you're huge enough, then Dell or some of the other ones can push those hardware hash value directly into a tenant. If you are working with some of the manufacturers that doesn't have this one as a service where they don't have the hardware hashes, we are kind of getting away my little dream about having zero-touch provisioning, because you need to start up the Windows device, and during the boot process, you can stop it and you can get a PowerShell, you can run a script. That's also in the documentation. That pretty much create a CSV file from that device, and then we can load that one directly into devices here and work with that one. Good. So, and again, as you can see, it's one big mess. This is just my playground, but I'm also playing with some of its regular, Windows 11 Danish, Windows 11 UK, and so on. So it's a mix of those tags that we're doing. So you control the deployment profiles based on the tags. And what more makes sense to go? Yeah, then we have the deployment profiles here. Again, this is the Teams room we go in, and not much magic in it. It is setting up where we can set the different. That was the one we talked about, giving a device name to it, but it's all devices will start with MGR OW1 and then minus and then the serial number on it. So that'll be the name standard of all the meeting. Yeah. We also need to create some dynamic groups, and we have it here. That's the good thing about Sandbox, is that you don't have 10,000 users in it. And we have the dynamic membership. And again, a dynamic group is where we don't add users or devices in it. Here it will automatic out for some syntax we have had. And pretty much what it says, here it goes in and say, if we have the MTR minus on it, then we'll automatically put it into this group. And one thing, when you start with this one, sorry about this one, I'll just sorry about that. One thing here is there's a lot of synchronization. So if you expect just to sit down, run through the documentation, next, here we go, and we're good to go, you will see a lot of errors. And you haven't done anything wrong. It's just a process that needs to synchronize. And especially when you get the new devices in, on the devices we have the MTR minus on, before it goes into dynamic group and being in there, that takes some time. When we come to the next step, when we are going into a PMP, where we are assigning the room accounts and so on into it, that's also something that needs to be synchronized. So, I mean, it takes time, but if you get the process right, and again, that's one of the benefits, that if you are working with one of the manufacturers that can push that hardware hash into your tenant, then that will happen when you're ordering everything. So pretty much everything is synchronized, and you don't have to wait with that one. If you start by getting the hardware hash out of the Windows boot process, then you need to wait for the synchronization. And sadly, there's not a green flag come up and say, hey, I'm synchronized, I'm ready, you can go to step 2. So, I mean, you will be drinking a lot of coffee before you're done with that one. And as we were talking about when my screen was not working, we have this huge gap between MTR people and Intune people. And I was saying, hey, how can it be? I'll just start on with that one. And I went through all the synchronization problems and was waiting and impatient and so on, and something wrong with the PC, and do a factory reset again, and nothing happens. And after 3 times, it actually worked. Okay, there's something wrong with the image. No, Carsten, you just need to be more patient. And I guess, like everything else, that's just the way it is. And that's again why I recommend that don't do a huge rollout. Start by playing around with POC and buy a couple of devices so you can make sure that you have the process do it. I've had some customers just, we just bought 80 rooms, come and we just set it up. No, slow down. Let's make sure that everything is working on it. But yeah, that's pretty much the way that it is here in Autopilot. I think it's more interesting to go in and talk about how we actually do this one in in the PMP, the Pro Portal. And just so everybody is aware that we are migrating the Teams admin center configuration of Android devices into PMP. So, I mean, this one will be the one portal to rule them all. So this is where we're going to do everything. And I know that's not into this session, but I had another session yesterday, so see the recording. But just in summary, over summertime, Microsoft migrating all the stuff that you do in Teams admin center on Android devices in here. And step 2 will be that we try to get functionality one-to-one between Android and Windows. So the first move will be whatever you could do in TAG, you can do in here. And then afterwards, put more functionality into to Android. And yeah, I have asked that question a lot. What about Autopilot and Android? Wouldn't that be awesome to have it? I guess that everybody's saying, yeah, let's get that stuff. But again, I don't think that the Intune team has rejected the request. I just think that they see, hey, this is only 1 million devices. I mean, how much is actually going on? Remember, this team is handling all the PCs that we rolled out with that way. But again, this is on my own conclusion, but we have run NDEP, meaning that we have this Android operating system controlled and done by Microsoft. One can hope a little Autopilot service will come in there so we can do the same zero-touch provisioning as we can do in the Windows one. But yeah, that was a little sidestep, but every time you talk with a Microsoft representative, we have one there, say, hey, we have a feature request. We would love to have that option in on it. And now that we have a small sidestep, you're all aware that there's this Wednesday call here. If you haven't seen it, then we have up here, if you're going to question marks, there is a join call here where the people behind the Pro Portal are actually joining in. And those are Microsoft people that are sitting and working with this one. It's not the engineers directly, but was it 1 or 2 steps above, so they actually can help you guys and you can ask questions or feature requests and so on. I mean, it's really an awesome service. I don't think we have any other products where we have the same direct contact into to Microsoft PTs. So, little side note. Anyway, we're going into to planning, and we have the Autopilot devices. And again, here you really need to be patient. And it's not just 10, 15 minutes. When you start this one, I don't think I can even start the first time. I don't have a screenshot of it. And you need to enable this process because this synchronization, I mean, it's only something that makes sense to enable in your tenant if you use it. The first time you start this one, there's a big button, click sync now. And my suggestion here is that you do this. Well, I killed my Outlook. Sorry. My suggestion is that you do that and then you go home. I mean, don't wait. Don't sit and wait a couple of hours because I think mine was 4 or 5 hours before I actually see it. So that's too long. So just do it and say, hey, I'll do that next day. And then what happens is that we can click a sync and that one will run a sync. And again, we don't get a green flag say when it's done. But when it does it, it goes out and into Intune and say, hey, under my devices, have you added since I last run my synchronization any MCR minus devices? And they will come in here. So if you are a little behind it, you just create them in Intune. You can sit and click this one, synchronize every 5 minutes, and then it will come in certain. Good. When we have this one set up, then we have everything listed up here, and this is where the really cool part comes. That's where we get the zero-touch provisioning is, because when we are deploying in Intune, we are also, it does all the configuration updates and so on, and it end up running a Teams MSI file that actually, because the biggest problem is we get a device out of the box. It's with an old version of Teams. Of course it is, because the manufacturer build are maybe 6-7 a month old or something like that. So of course not up to date. This one will automatically up to date, meaning that we don't have to wait either to force with some PowerShell commands, update whenever it's signed in and so on, or we need to do other stuff with USB stuff. When we end the process in Autopilot land, it will automatically update and make sure that we have the newest version. And we'll also start up. And I don't know if any of you guys have been playing around with OTP, one-time passcode. That's like the start of this one from Microsoft. You can go in on a device and you can take the device and say, here, I want an OTP. That was a long, I think, 15, 16 digits code that when an MTR window start up for the first time, doesn't ask for username and password. Now it asks for OTP, and you can type it in. And that was like the starting process for this one. This one does it automatically. So if we have, let's see which one to take. That's a Lenovo one. We can just take this one, assign an account, and then run through some steps here. And we will select this device. Yeah, that's the one we have. Of course, you can take multiple devices. If you're doing 10, 15 rooms, something like that. And we're going to say, which account do we want to put in? Let's say just Denmark, for example, on this device. Go next. And here, it's kind of cool because, I'm one of the few that really love security on top of this one, because it's the one thing that we are really bad at in the Teams area is actually make sure that we secure everything that we does. I think somebody in this room will agree with me, but we're working on it. And password, we don't want passwords to be shown or giving to anyone, even though we are trusting our AV integrators. Less people that know or have access to this password, the better. So yeah. And of course, this one is changing because very soon we'll get passwordless accounts on this one. And then everything I'm standing and talking about here is legacy stuff. But as it is right now, summertime, something like that, August, September, something like that, I guess we're Microsoft are rolling out passwordless. But here we'll have the option to either automatically generate. And that's a very cool feature, meaning that me as an administrator, I don't even know which password that are automatically generated on it. So what it does is behind the scene, you go down to the account and they'll just change the password to something that I don't know. Or I have the option to say, change it to something I don't know, or give me a CSV file because I need this password. Because the next thing is that if we are rolling out an MTR in here and we have the panel outside that needs to sign in on the same account, how do we do that? Well, we need the password as it is for now. But we can also generate something, so it's not even me that's trying to say which one it is. Or we can also go in and say, hey, I know the password for this one. I'll just type in whatever it is, and it will work with that password. So those are the options that we have. And again, hopefully I'm a trusted employee because I have access to all this one, so I have the right rights and so on. So, but yeah, we can take the step where we don't have the password. But just for fun and giggles, we'll just type in and nothing special with that. And then we'll review is everything as it is. Are we cool with it? Yeah, we are cool with it. And then we'll click finish and everything will be synchronized. And you need to do this before you begin staging the MTR on it. So again, yeah, I can download the list here with password. That will be the same step that if you say auto-generate password, then we'll get this file here. And if we open it up, you can see that this is the name of the room, Denmark at Meilbak.k. That's my playground. And the naming of it and the password was 1234567 That is not my password, so don't try to line in with that one. Just for the recording. But yeah, that's the way to do it. If we have multiple rooms, that we are signing in, we can also upload a CSV file with the password if you want to, because hopefully it's not the same password you have on 10 different rooms. I wouldn't suggest. And bear in mind, the password we are talking about here are not the ones that if you go in when the system is up running and say I want in admin state, type in the password. This is the password for the resource account. like the Exchange object where we have made it as a calendar. And again, please make sure that you make it safe. I know that, as I was saying, passwordless are coming, but I see a lot of times where the customers are having standard on the devices and just use a regular one here. We are bypassing MFA because MFA on meeting rooms doesn't make any sense because who is the responsible for it? When do we get back and forth? So it's just kill everything. So you actually have an account with team access that are protected by a username and password. And I know we can do a lot of Intune stuff and so on. And luckily, more and more companies are better to integrate this one. But I still sadly see companies that don't have any Intune rules, have created their accounters with no MFA and so on, and only username and password protected. Meaning that if I'm sitting in China, nothing wrong with China, but on the other side of the world, and I just start a browser and type teams.microsoft.com, take this username and password, I am logged in with a Teams account with that access and look up on whatever I can do on behalf of that one. Again, so if you're doing anything like this, remember to secure, make some conditional access rules saying that the devices are only allowed to sign in from corporate nets and so on, at least just to do some. I know there's a lot of nice learning articles about what you need to set up, and you had a couple of screenshots on your session yesterday. So if you're seeing some of the recording, there are some hints how to do that on it. So with the configuration we are done now is that we are going into Intune. We are put in the hardware hash. We have created the tag on it. We have pre-created the groups where we put all the rules in that say, hey, we want MTR serial number on the device name. We have saying languages. We have put in the deployment profile. So what happens now is that if I'm plug in this Lenovo device now, I think it was that one. If I plug that one in, give it power, it'll go in and say, hey, Intune in the startup process, I have this hardware hash. Any tenant that you own registered with this one. I'll come back and say, yeah, Meilbak DK have created a profile, and we roll out the windows and all the deployment settings, ending by taking this Teams MSI file and roll out, updating all drivers, all applications and everything like that on it. And then at the end, go in and say which account is signed into this one. And yeah, then does it work. So, sorry, this is a real zero-touch provisioning that we can do here. And I think everybody's missing this one. Not many are using it. Yeah. Any questions on that one? Yeah. Yeah.
Will it also enable the automatic update?
It depends what you have set up. Now we have the time, so I guess we just come back and forth. We have the update here, cycles, and update has been we had in Teams Admin Center, we have the update rules that were focusing on Android devices, and then we have the rings here we can create. What we can create here is different rings where we say when a new software is coming to update and so on. That's one of the benefits of moving everything into PnP is that we will have one update signature. But back to the question. It will update to the newest version, and then whatever you're configured will then follow the updates rings you created. Autopilot is not something you can configure afterwards. Autopilot is only during the installation of Windows. So yeah.
All the other Windows updates.
Because on the Windows, we have a scheduled task running at 2:00 night. I go out and do all Windows updates, all store updates and whatever, and then it does a restart half an hour after. And if you are in meetings, just so everybody's aware, that's not a bug. It's supposed to do that. So let's say you're sitting in a meeting 2:00 at night, it will run that schedule and it will do the restart 2:30 after. Even if you're in a meeting, it doesn't go in and check and see if I'm actually working here. So, you guys in IT, sometimes we are working very odd hours because of location all over the world. And I've hit that one a couple of times that, it restarts. So you have to wait till it comes up and rejoin the meeting. But yeah, some of the updates are some of the stuff that are more interesting. Good. Then I think we can do it. But yeah, there's no update. Yeah, it does a restart, and somebody in the room here probably knows the statistics better. What I've heard is that, I mean, the Windows part is back from the Skype meeting rooms. I mean, there's a lot of history on the software. Was it 40 or 60% of tickets were removed after Microsoft put in this restart task at 2 a.m. So it really makes sense. Android historically didn't have it, but now we have it that we in profiles can do a restart every idle day or whatever. It used to be the manufacturer that pushed that part in, but when we got the configuration file, we also begin to add this one. I mean, I love the functionality with you. One could argue, why should you restart your device every day? You don't restart your Android phone and so on, but it works. I mean, and it doesn't matter. I mean, you're not looking into the device anyway at 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever you set it up. So in my opinion, it makes perfect sense to do a daily restart. I normally, try to get customers to do that when we're trying to make maintenance rules or anything like that. So cool. Let me see if we didn't go through all the hard step on it, so we can just see if this one is, if anyone wants this one, if you want to go home and play with this one, this is you need to make a script with that one. And what it does is that when the PC starts up, you hold F12 down and you'll get a PowerShell, and that one will create a CSV file with the hardware hash that you can import into to your Intune tenant. So if you have a couple of devices you're playing around with, do that. That's the fastest way. That's the prerequisites. We must go in. I think this one will show. This is a picture you will see most. This is the process when it starts up. This is the Windows when it starts up. And welcome, and we're working on it. I'll go through all the steps. And if something is not working, in the best scenario, everything will be fine. Yeah, and now it signs into Teams. All is magic. I mean, this is what works. But I've seen and experienced is that if it's by somehow stop doing something that has been standing, power cycle it and will work. I know that's not 100% zero touch provisioning, but I'll look into it. There'll be some logs that go into the Windows and you can see what actually goes wrong. Have I configured something wrong? Have I do a language that's not supposed? If I am reinstalling a device again and I haven't cleaned up in entrance, so I'll make sure that there's not a device that all registered in that one. There's so many things that can go wrong, but my experience is that stop it. I mean, give it half an hour. I mean, it has to stand and it will take long. It's not as fast as this is a speed up process on it. But try to do a restart. I've also seen when we did some of the, and nothing wrong with the no, but we saw that they were adding a new firmware update that stopped everything because it does everything. It updates all the stuff that they need to make sure they're newest, that are supported by Microsoft and signature and all that stuff. But we've seen that we had to restart those one in, and that's a pain. But that was the firmware that was delivered from the manufacturer, so that's what we had to work with. Again, and it's okay and not okay. If you are doing a reset of your Windows, you can go in and you can remote session into it and you can say reset this one and come up and say, do I want to get from cloud or do I want to use the one that's already pre-installed on the PC? Take the one that's pre-installed on the PC because that's the image that the manufacturer have and they put all the team stuffs and so on. I've seen, I think it was HP, that if we do it from the cloud, it doesn't know anything that I'm a Teams device. Just get the Windows version down and run it from there. And then you don't have a Teams room, then you just have a Windows PC on it. And if we're not aware, there are different ways we could get into it. If we have the rooms, I just need to load it up. I think we have a treehouse here. And hopefully my remote access works. This one is standing in my lab in Denmark, so it has to travel a little distance, connecting to Treehouse. That one is a spite. Have any of you been in campus at Microsoft? You need to go out. If you get there, you need to go out and see they have some Treehouse meeting rooms. It's really awesome. But yeah, we can go in here, and if we set this one up, we can do everything we want to touch in it. So we can go in and send settings, and we need to go in and again, as I was saying, nobody uses default password. That'll be stupid. So of course I'm not using that one. But yeah, we can get anything here. So if the PC or something wrong, we can go in and get Windows settings, and we can actually go in and say, hey, yeah, restart from here. If you need to set this one up, you need to do a couple of steps out of the box. It's not set up that you cannot do remote management into devices. You need to enable it, and it makes perfect sense because you are open up that administrator can go in and see meeting rooms. As it is right now, then this one you need to check that you have remote access, and then you need to make some roles where you can go in and say, you can just click role. Come on. Go. Then we have closely to the bottom, we can go in and say, do we want to modify or do we just want to view? And then you can decide which rooms you put this one on. When you have done that, then you can go in and remote access into those meeting rooms. As it is right now, if there's meeting in progress, we cannot remote into it. So it's not like we can see it and say, hey, I want to go in and see what's going on in this boardroom. Some manufacturers has on their license part and on their hardware where you can go in and do it, and they're doing it in different ways. I'm kind of happy that Microsoft has decided not to do this because, I mean, imagine a shitstorm if somebody found out that, hey, an administrator can actually go in and see what's going on in the meetings. You cannot do that. You can only do when it's idle state, and there'll be a red frame around that monitor or console that you're seeing, so nobody is in doubt that, hey, we're working on it. So, yeah. Out of weird time, which, yeah, go ahead. Question. Good. I was going to work with that one. Perfect. We can do it in Intune, and I was going to say it was a bad example. I have SFB in mind, and that's actually for a purpose because I love when I'm doing stuff that we can go in on incidents, and I really want to have security so people can see that it actually put a flag here and say you have default password. In production, I will never do that. We have labs local administrative password that we can set in Intune. What that is that it will go in and change the local admin password randomly, whatever time frame you set up. And if you need to sign in on that account, you need to go in Intune and get that admin password that's available at the moment. So I would definitely recommend this. If if you're following the guide, it will set it up. Meantime, my experience is that I always wait with labs until I have a steady plan and I have a process for it. I know everything is working. Then I put labs on top of it because at the end we want labs. But when we're playing around, everything security just makes everything more difficult. I mean, if there was no bad guys within the security, all would be good. But it's kind of difficult and you need to go in and get the password. And if your restarting device is not the same and so on. So labs always implement at the end. No, that's Intune. No, that's Intune. Yeah. And that's something you can put labs afterwards. So let's say that you have already 50 meeting rooms that you have installed. You don't have to do Autopilot on it. That's something you can put on top of it. There are guides for that one as well. Yeah, and I'm allowed to show. I don't know if you've seen the roadmap, but Mirrorcast are coming out to all the Windows devices. Super cool. And I'm working in time with it. I'm allowed to show it because it is that close. I think next release it's coming out here. But if we go into a room here and we find, we can say 3. I also think that one is. Then we have under settings. It's so cool. I love it. Devices setting here. And then we have the option to enable it. And we could go in and say, what kind of pin code do we want? And if you guys remember from the Service Hub days, it was like required first time, and then it remember you, and you can do it afterward. Luckily, we have the option to require code. So if it's public, just you do the Windows K and you just get it going, or you can require a pin code every time, or at once. So that's set up. And it's cool when we are doing changes in here on the Windows one. We get the option: do you want to implement it right now, or do you want to do it with that 2:00 restart? So if I just save change and do it later, then at night it will restart. And really sorry, I was sitting in a cold area. That will have effect after 2:00. If we do it right now, I'll go out and say, hey, I'm in a meeting, and then we'll do a restart if it's idle. So those are the options we can do on it. Out of call with, I'm not sure in the call. I assume it will, but I'm not 100%. I haven't actually tested. I thought I've tested everything on it, but yeah. But it's no. Do you know if it works? No, no. Yeah, yeah. I'm assuming that it will, because I mean it is just a middleware that's a built-in that you do content sharing over it. So my qualified guess will be yes, but I haven't tested. But it works fine. I mean, I've probably also joining webinar, all of us, and so on. I've seen plenty of webinars where I just mailcast my PC into the meeting room just to see and so on, and microphone or not microphone speakers and so on are working. So yeah, all good with that. This year, something else is that's all. It's really simple. I mean, and it is a gap that we don't see that many working with. So yeah, go around and play with. And of course, if you have any question, feel free to reach out to me. Um, my link is down at the corner. So yeah, you're more than welcome to connect with me. And yeah, even though I'm a consultant, it's not like if somebody is asking a question, you get a bill afterwards. So I mean. Uh, I joined doing this, so I mean, yeah, it's always fun to help.